Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
An illegal immigrant is charged with killing a 68-year-old retiree in California. Police say Todd Stewart was stabbed to death on the front lawn of his home in the Bay Area. The accused killer was released from jail one day before this horrifying attack. Senior national correspondent William Lajeunesse has more. Hi, William.
Well, Martha, four things make this an unbelievable case. One, the suspect's illegal status. Two, he had at least 2 priors and yet was released twice by the courts. 3, police had caught this guy using the automated license plate reader that so many police critics want to ban because they might be used to expose illegal immigrants. And finally, had this not happened in a sanctuary state, ICE could have detained him and the murder never happened. Now, the warning, this video is a little graphic. Last week near San Francisco, a 36-year-old from Venezuela, unprovoked, attacks a 60-year-old man working in his garage and allegedly stabs him to death. The murder happens a day after he was released from jail on his own recognizance for, get this, violating the terms of his prior arrest. So actually the courts released him twice, despite what police say were 2 prior burglaries. Neighbors say 68-year-old Todd Stewart stopped what would have been a 3rd burglary when Marcos Arate Valdez allegedly killed him.
There was some yelling going on from what I understand from the neighbors, and then apparently it looks like he chased the man out of the garage, and then he was stabbed in front of Ryan's house.
DHS releasing this statement on X. This Venezuelan illegal alien stabbed a father to death in Sanctuary, California. Governor Gavin Newsom must not release this murderer from jail and turn him over to us so we can remove him from our nation. So neighbors say Stewart had lived in this house for 4 decades, loved his wife and 2 daughters. He was building a shed in the garage when he was killed. Arate Valdez will be arraigned this afternoon. Martha?
Absolutely awful. William, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Joe is out today. I am in chair. Class is in session. I feel like we talk about this every day on this show, and the reason is because every day something else happens that could have been prevented, but we live in such a toxic environment that is controlled by rotted judges, selected leaders, that we as regular everyday Americans are just left to pick up the pieces of whatever they decide is going to be left behind for us on a daily basis. And right there, this gentleman, 60-year-old man, was killed by a criminal illegal immigrant who was released from the judicial system while he was reoffending. Okay, he was arrested in April for breaking into a house, right? Broke his home confinement deal, arrested again, then released on his own recognizance, and then killed somebody the next day. All of this is easily preventable. Crimes like this, deaths like this occur every day in this country, and it's purposely being done by a rotted judiciary and by leaders on the left that promote these sanctuary cities and sanctuary state policies that refuse to cooperate with ICE, that will allow ICE to remove and deport criminal illegal aliens from our country. It is absurd that this is an argument that we still have to have day in and day out. And we're here, and that poor family has to pick up the pieces because their patriarch was just killed because he probably was preventing a robbery of his garage. That's where we are. And all that can be avoided if this judge kept this criminal illegal alien in jail. Not even the state office working with the feds to get him out, just simply keeping a repeat criminal offender in jail. But that is something we don't do anymore. These judges have the ability to decide whether or not a repeat criminal offender should stay locked up if they break their conditions, right? So these judges have all this power to make these decisions on who should be remanded, who should stay in, who should have their rights revoked, and then who should be given a free pass. And what constantly keeps coming up is that these free passes are given to criminal illegal aliens that then once again go on the streets to reoffend, leaving the average day American who is paying the taxes, doing the right thing, that family being destroyed. because judges refuse to hold the line, because judges, especially leftist activist judges, have their own specific agenda from the bench. The stench from the bench is a real thing. Okay, the stench from the bench is a real thing. Judges that are politically aligned with the left typically do not favor in rule of law, does not favor in following the Constitution, do not in favor of the everyday American citizens. Instead, they empathize and sympathize with the criminal illegal alien that's come into this country. They sympathize and empathize with the criminals that constantly reoffend, and then let those people back out into the street to do what? Oh, what happens again? Oh, reoffend and put more of the American people at risk with no impunity. They don't care, because they have a belief that the judicial system, the one that actually employs them, is rotted to the core, and then what they're doing from the bench is the bidding that needs to be done to create a more fair and just society. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. That's not what these activist judges from the bench dictate and do to us. And if you don't believe me, let's take a look at the activist judge that let this repeat criminal offender out to only shatter a family now. Let's put her picture up, and let's keep it up there for a while. Let's make her famous. Contra Costa County Superior Court Judge Nichelle N. Holmes ordered the release of the illegal Marcus Arate Valdez on August 5th, 2026, exactly 1 day before he stabbed an American father and husband. These judges need to start being held accountable. 100% agree. I believe all of America, for the most part, believes activist judges need to be dealt with and handled with and removed from the bench, whether it's criminally or just by violation of duty. Now, whoa, judges have immunity, judges have immunity, judges have immunity. Well, for the most part, they do, especially on the federal level. They have immunity unless they are actually convicted of improper behavior from the bench, corruption, protecting people when they shouldn't be, right? But there is a path to get state judges removed from the bench. And I went into I went down a little rabbit hole today, because I'm getting tired of seeing these things happen. I'm getting tired of seeing people released from jail that should be in jail, only to go out there and wreak more havoc and destroy families. What is it to stop it from happening to my family, your family, someone close to you? Especially if you live in a blue state and a blue city. Unfortunately, I do. So this is a very real threat out here in Colorado, right? It takes 3 times to sexually abuse a child before you get locked up to be a pedo. Like, that's the type of mentality we're dealing with out here in Colorado. All right, that's the state legislature. Judges can kind of, they can do their own thing regardless, kind of wiggle within the law frame to still hold those people accountable, but choose not to, because no, law says I got to let them out. So these judges are completely fine with letting rapists out here, child rapists out here in Colorado. You have another one here that's just completely fine letting criminal illegal aliens reoffend and victimize the American people, to the point now where this criminal illegal alien killed an American, because that American was not tolerating him coming to his property and taking his stuff, just like any cold-blooded American that believes in their rights. Like, you come into my house and steal my shit, it's go time, either you or me. And unfortunately, this is what happens. This is what happens. You have criminal illegal aliens that don't respect the culture of this country, the language of this country, the borders of this country, but yet are giving rights and are allowed to constantly victimize American people, because you have activist judges like this sitting from the bench. Well, we don't know she's an activist judge. You can't really make that, you see the picture, but you can't just gloss over and say, oh no, she's an activist judge. Well, in reality, she is an activist judge. And in the research that I was looking at, I did see that state judges, which she's not a federal appointee, she's a state appointee from Newsom. State judges throughout the United States can be removed from the bench for different reasons. Okay? For one reason that I looked at, this is what I found today. State judges can be removed or disciplined by the state judicial conduct commissions if a decision was driven by clear bias, willful disregard of mandatory law, or substance abuse of the bench. I think the last two are out. I don't think she had disregard of mandatory law. I think she just did what she was allowed to do, and she didn't exercise any judgment, and she actually allowed, I believe, her bias to lead to this tragic incident that occurred. Sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. And how could you look at this judge, or how can you think that this judge right here, Judge Nichelle Holmes could have bias? Well, let's take a look here. She did her undergraduate degree at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. She earned her Juris Doctorate degree in 2010 from the University of San Francisco. Before joining the bench, she served as the Deputy District Attorney for Contra Costa County for 12 years, focusing on victim advocacy, criminal prosecution, and social justice within the criminal justice system. Oh, that word social justice. That word social justice is usually tied to other things. It's not isolated. There's a bigger branch other than just social justice. So let's keep going here. She was appointed in 2024 to fill a vacancy on the Superior Court created by the retirement of a former judge, Leslie Landau. So what is the background of this judge, though? Because this is where I'm going to come in and start hammering on that, hey, there is bias here, and there is a way to take this judge off the bench. But the problem is she's out in California, and California, we know, is super blue. They're not going to do anything about this because they're aligned lock and step in their ideological goals of destroying America. So they're not going to hold this judge accountable, but this is being more of just information and factual based for you guys to actually think about, to pass along this information to other people that, hey, there are ways for judges to move from the bench statewide basis for bias. And then you got to actually try and connect and make the bias relevant. So that's what I'm going to look to do with her right now, because her history in the education field before she became a judge, and even while she is a judge, is completely laced with DEI. And now if we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion is openly racism. How is there not implicit bias in DEI initiatives that that have the stronghold of that America is systemically oppressive, white males are systemically oppressive, and we need to uproot the American society. We need to change and radically change the system of government in which we are living in. How does working in that and coaching in that environment for years and years and years before you become a judge does not show that you have bias? And then that bias will then bleed over into cases, especially when you're ruling for criminal illegal immigrants, because DEI is all about supporting that specific population as well as Black population, Hispanic population, right? It's all about the marginalized groups. So how could she then be allowed to rule independently, because she's not supposed to have a bias as a judge? If you go through the judicial codes, they're not supposed to allow bias in. But how can she say she is not biased to the system? Because we're going to go through a little bit more what she has done, right? Spelman, she took over in 2024, but here's where you really get a look at what this judge has been tied to. Okay, she has served as president of the Charles Houston Bar Institute and on the boards of organizations such as the Equal Justice Society, the United Negro College Fund, and the USF School of Law Board of Governors. She is also active in organizations such as the Bay Area Black Prosecutors Association. So, once again, I'm hammering at this because with DEI, the DEI's main purpose is to re-image and change the narrative, change what America is. But in order to do that, you need to have a core belief of America, of that America is discriminatory and that all Americans need to be held accountable. This is where the bias comes in, because she is prepped with this. She is prepped with DEI. She is prepped with anti-white rhetoric for years and years and years. Anti-American rhetoric for years and years and years before she becomes to a judge. As she's sitting on the bench as a judge, you're telling me all that work in those groups are just done away and she magically disconnects? Okay, maybe she does. But if you talk to these equity people, the ones that preach equity, that's impossible. You cannot disconnect from your bias, because that's what they teach us in our equity trainings. When I was at Cherry Creek School District, you cannot disconnect from your bias. You are programmed with these bias a certain way. So if white people are programmed with a bias a certain way, then Black people are programmed with a bias a certain way. And if you're a judge being programmed into these DEI initiatives, isn't that building a bias case for that judge? Isn't that building an ideological bias and showing how she could be biased? Let's go a little bit further. Let's see what the Equal Justice Society actually does, the EJS. Yes, the EJS explicitly advocates for diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Their mission centers on advancing civil rights, defending race-conscious remedies, such as affirmative action, which, by the way, was struck down by the Supreme Court 9-0, okay, as being racist. So tell me how this judge has no bias from the bench. She does have bias on the bench. She needs to be removed from the bench. But once again, she's out in California. And once again, I'm not expecting anything to come from this. This is more of an educational tutorial to the audience to get an idea that if you actually look into these judges and go through the backgrounds of these judges, you could prove bias. And if you really want to push the issue, I believe you could push the issue at your state legislature's house or your judicial oversight commission in your state to go after judges once they make these horrible, egregious rulings that lead to the death and destruction of the American people. Let's keep going with the EJS, shall we? Do they fight white supremacy? Yes, EJS explicitly addresses white supremacy as part of its legal and public advocacy work. For example, they publish dedicated public briefings monitoring white supremacy, voter suppression, and systemic racial bias, and focus their legal strategy on dismantling structural racism in the legal system. So if you are working to do that, how are you not bringing your bias to work every day to dismantle the actual system that you're working in as a judge? How? And yet no one talks about this. No one knows about it. It took me 10 minutes to go down the rabbit hole of AI to start pulling information out. And I know it's not perfect, but it's getting the idea out there. She is programmed. She's a DEI agent and she has bias coming into the bench because of the work she's done before. And if they tell you no, then they cannot tell you at the same tone that all white people have bias just for being born. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways because that's what equity actually teaches. Equity actually teaches white people have bias towards all minorities. Doesn't matter your upbringing, doesn't matter what you've been taught, doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter that you grew up poor, doesn't matter you grew up without a father, doesn't matter you worked your ass off your whole life to get where you were. You have implicit bias because of the color of your skin, therefore you need to be programmed differently. No, what you're telling me is I need to be programmed like this retard is from the bench that led to the killing of an innocent man trying to defend his property. This is what DEI has done to us. This is where DEI has taken us, and us as Americans are paying the ultimate price because nobody is doing anything to get these judges out of power. But also, if your state or city follows and being a lefty lunatic state or city, you will never get reprieve from a judge like this. So the only way this becomes helpful is if you live in a red state that has activist judges. This is a way you can get them removed statewide that are state appointees. Go after them based on their bias and find their bias from the work they did before they came to the bench. And don't tell me that that can't be done. It can be done. There is no way you could say there is no bias in this judge with the amount of work she was doing behind the scenes and all these marginalized groups, black support groups that she has been a part of leading, advocating for. And then coincidentally, this leads to the death of a white man. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. But I am so tired of the rotted judges all across the United States, at the state level, at the federal level. I have had it with them. Scott Valholic out here in Colorado, we're going to get into what it takes to be a magistrate judge. And Judge Regina Rodriguez out here in Colorado, activist judge from the bench, holding up my life and protecting Cherry Creek School District from a massive lawsuit that they need to be smacked with. But the judges are the arbiters of reality, apparently. But the arbiters of reality only see reality through one way, race lens. That's also what equity teaches. See, they don't tell you this on the write-ups of the websites, but if you actually get indoctrinated in the school systems and you actually go through these equity trainings, they tell you exactly what equity is. Equity is viewing everything through race. So if you're viewing everything through race, that gives you a bias off the jump. Instead of looking at the merits of the case, looking at the facts of the case, looking at the law that was broken, no, you're not doing any of that. You're seeing what's in front of you first. Black person, okay, I got a different set of rules. Illegal criminal, illegal immigrant, oof, got a different set of rules. White criminal defendant, oof, got a different set of rules. And that is not how America is supposed to work, but that's what these activist judges are turning America into, and it's time to get these activist judges out of power. And Jim Jordan on the House Judicial Oversight Committee, he needs to start doing work at the federal level and getting these judges impeached off the federal bench, okay? Don't tell me these judges, you can't prove racketeering or some criminal conspiracy behind the scenes with these federal judges that are smacking down every ruling that comes through the Trump administration. There's no way you can tell me but no one's doing the hard work, digging down, trying to do it. It's all a charade. Everyone yells, blah, 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 blah. Nothing gets done. You know what happens to us? It's incrementalism. Joe talks about it. The left gained 3 steps. We win 2 steps, net gain, incremental, 1-step victory by the left every time. There is no winning on our side. And if you actually take the 100,000-foot view and look down on America and what's actually happening in front of us, you can't not say that we will not eventually lose the culture war and the political war, because nothing is being done to get judges out. Nothing's being done about the electoral process, the election machines, right? Nothing's being done about these things. So that just leaves me sitting here looking around like, wow, it's just closing in on us a little bit. The question is, when does it finally hit max capacity? I don't know, but that's my thought process. And thank you for tuning in and staying with me through this little rabbit hole that I'm going on. But I got one more clip that kind of shows just how absurd the judiciary is. Let's play cut 3.
Did you know the judge that released this guy didn't even go to law school? Yeah, not even a lawyer. Yeah, these magistrate judges that are making a decision to release these people without bail, yeah, they're not even lawyers. They didn't go to law school. They didn't pass the bar. They just got appointed to be judges. No training required. Oh yeah, and that's the case in states like North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Texas, Arizona. They don't even have to be lawyers, but they can be judges. They don't have to go to law school. They don't have to pass the bar. However, they sit in judgment over people who did. How the f*** is this a thing? How the f*** do we have judges who didn't even study the law? How did this ever become a thing? That's one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Like, to be somebody's lawyer, you have to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. Like, just to represent a client, you have to do that. To be able to prosecute that person, you got to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. But to be the judge, to be the person overseeing these lawyers, to be the ultimate arbiter of the law, you don't have to go to law school, you don't have to pass the bar. How is this a thing?
Yeah. So that's actually true, okay? In the United States, there are 32 states that allow judges or magistrate judges to serve without a law degree. And how do we know this? Because this is coming from a comprehensive research study done by law professors Sarah Green and Kristen Renberg, confirmed that 32 U.S. states allow non-lawyers, individuals without a JD, to be judges, magistrate judges from the bench. So here, listen to this. Here's the list of 32 states. So more than half of America, you could have a magistrate judge. Oh, and by the way, take a look at what magistrate judges do. Magistrate judges actually have a great deal of power. They get to decide who gets to go before the real judge. They have an immense amount of power in our system that nobody knows about, no one understands. I didn't even know about it till I got smacked in the face by Scott T. Valhalic. But he's a radical leftist, no big surprise. But I had no idea. There are 32 states here in America that you do not need a law degree, but yet you still can be a judge. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Delaware, Georgia, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. 32 states in our country, you can become a magistrate judge. And the guy in the video, great question. How the F did this happen? How the F did this happen? Well, this was actually set up when we were founded early on in our history, allowing magistrate judges to serve this way. And the reason why was in rural America, the time, the pace, the way to get into a major city to go to get a hearing heard was too encumbersome. So there was a way to alleviate the stress and pressure of rural Americans seeking legal recourse by setting up this type of system with magistrate judges. Except problem is, this system in 2026 is still in place. And then what also is very, very fun to watch and to look into is actually how you become a magistrate judge and how do you get appointed to become a magistrate judge. Some states have very open processes. Other states have secret processes. So you should look into that where you live and see if you could become part of the panel that accepts a magistrate judge. A lot from what I've seen is just players, right? It's just people that are connected, that know each other, that like know someone that might be able to slide in. Usually done by community organizers. At least out here in Colorado, community organizers typically identify good candidates to be magistrate judges. And if you live out here in Colorado, you definitely know who your community organizers are, the lefty loonies. So you really think they're going to pick a conservative person to sit on the judiciary? No way. So that's how you get the cycle of radical leftist judges all in the same area, all in the same spot, all at the same time, right? Because you just feed the beast of the lefty lunacies, the mental retards get to pick people that will have power, that will then rule and protect their side while smacking down ours. That's just the way it is. I'm not wrong. I am not wrong. The judiciary is rotted to the core. The left, yes, and even right-leaning judges are rotted to the core too. Very few judges are there to do the actual bidding of administering justice and making sure the rule of law is being followed without putting their fingers on the scale. Very few do that now because everyone is politically aligned or ideologically driven to make sure their side wins. So law gets washed over. No one really cares. And the guy, in that video also, the gentleman was talking about the judge that let the killer of Irina Soroka off, the guy that stabbed her in the neck on the train in North Carolina. He had multiple criminal arrests, multiple offenses, let off, boom, what happens? Have you noticed the trend that these constant reoffending criminals seem to be killing white people? Should I not say that? Is that not allowed to say? But that's the reality of it. That's the reality. Killing innocent white people. Irina sitting on the train, mind their own business. This guy working in his garage. Lincoln Riley going for a run in Georgia, right? Like it's a common occurrence that innocent Americans are being victimized by criminal illegal aliens, and then you have the judges that can do something about it, choosing not to. Actually, instead, choosing to release these criminal illegal aliens back into the streets of America to harm you. And they never have to worry about it, right? The judges, they live in an insulated, pretty much gated community. They have security, they have drivers. So they never have to deal with the riffraff that's on the street. They never have to deal with the consequences of their own decisions, boomeranging him back and smacking him in the face. You think that judge is going to be going out, working in her garage or going out to the store, picking shit up? No, she won't. She probably lives in a gated community, security, has the driver go out or orders DoorDash, right? Living that good life as a federal judge. So you never got to deal with the squalor, what they look down upon every day from their ivory tower. They never have to deal with the squalor. And they believe they're safe up there in their little castle, which they will be for time to time until eventually the whole system comes down. And then eventually those judges will get dragged out into the streets. That's how America is probably going to roll over the, next 10, 15 years, because there is no exit ramp. There is no exit ramp. There's nowhere I see improvement occurring. I really don't. Domestically, I see no improvement. SAVE Act can't get done. Voting machines are still in place. Gas is still high. Food's still high. Electricity's still high. I'm really not seeing the needle being moved anywhere. And I don't see any Republicans really concerned about it. I don't see anyone really talking about it, doing anything about it. Oh, yeah, we'll get to say, oh, we may have the votes. Oh, gas is expensive, right? No one's got the answers because no one actually wants to be the man and the adult in the room to clean this act up. So because you got this weak party on the right where it's allowing the left to actually come out swinging, winning some elections, whether or not they're legitimate or not, it's not mattering at this point. What's mattering is that they're gaining power. They're gaining political seats. The machines are not being dealt with. So are they legitimately winning or are the machines selecting them to win, right? Let's think about this for a second. If Trump wanted the machines to be taken out and believed the machines were the issue, why isn't he doing it? It's not the mail-in ballots. Is he part of this, allowing the DSA to magically get seats? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at anything anymore at this point. for the guy that said that the election's been stolen since 2020, and they've been stolen before then, but the gentleman that said the election's been stolen since 2020 to 2026, he has not really done what he has needed to do in order to fix this issue. And if he's not going to do what's needed to do to fix this issue, you're going to get more and more radical extremists rising up through the pipelines. Now, do I believe half of America aligns with the DSA? No, I don't. But do I believe there's a growing population in America that is signing up to the DSA agenda? Yes, I do. Yes, I do, especially over the last 10 to 15 years because of what's been pumped into the school systems, right? Like this has been one organized machine from the beginning, and now we're starting to see how this machine was designed to be built for the outcome that they're getting now, right? You got 20, 30-year-olds flocking to the streets screaming, Mamdani, Mamdani, socialism, 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 capitalism sucks. That's not isolated. That's all been done because of the propaganda that's been shredded, that's been shoved down the public school kids' throats for a long time now. And they have come out on the other side. I'd say probably it's 80-20. I think for every 100 kids that go to a public school, I'd say 80 wind up coming out liberal, 20 come out conservative. And that's all going to have to do with that 20 having good parents at home, keeping them on the straight and narrow without letting the school system hijack those kids as well. But it's all purposely being done. And then the reason why they're doing this is because they want to usher in a new wave of rule. They want to usher in a new wave of living. And they've openly talked about this, the DSA, okay? Mass amnesty, abolishing ICE. These are real things that they're talking about. And why are they talking about this? Because they don't give a crap about the United States. They don't care about our founding principles of the United States. They don't care about the Constitution of the United States. They just want to destroy the United States because we're bad. Somehow we're bad. They all come here to live. They all come here to take our money. They all come here to take from us. And at the same time, we're all pieces of shit as well. It is crazy to me. I've never thought people would move to a country to live by people that they hate. But these people do. These people do. I don't move somewhere. I would not move somewhere to go live by people I hate, to go want to change their way of life. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But DSA has people that want to do that. DSA is being used by the Muslims to come in and siphon off power every which way that they can. The Red Green Alliance. And they've openly talked about it. So I want to play this clip. This clip is from a gentleman by the name of Hassan Piker. Now, if you haven't learned who Hassan Piker is, he is a very big player in the DSA liberal left-leaning field. He is a political advisor. He has not run for office, but he's a political advisor. He's friends with AOC. He was attached to Al Said in Michigan that just won his primary recently. I want you to hear what this guy, Hassan Piker, who is running campaigns for DSA agents that are winning state houses, that are winning primary spots to run for the general election, to get House seats, to get Senate seats in our Congress. Why don't you listen to him, what he thinks about the U.S. Constitution?
It's unconstitutional. Man, you can and suck me from the back, okay? I the Constitution. I wipe my ass with the Constitution. It's a piece of paper, dude. Shut the up. Mother the Constitution and mother this country, okay? You stupid bitch.
There you go. Was that not clear or loud enough for all you to hear? This gentleman is running campaigns for the DSA. He is openly saying, F the Constitution, suck me from the back because of the Constitution. I will wipe my ass with this Constitution. It's a piece of paper. F this country. I've been saying this on the podcast. They don't respect the Constitution. And what's crazy is this gentleman, Hassan Piker, is a native-born American, born in New Jersey, but then moved over to Turkey for a while, then came back. So I wonder what happened over there in Turkey. I'm sure he was getting his up-to-date info upload. And then they come back here, and then he starts spewing all this shit about America. Anti-American rhetoric, F the Constitution. The Constitution is the greatest invention of mankind. The Constitution developed a system of government and law that balanced and created the most just society in the history of the world until it was hijacked, until it was taken over from within, until weak political leaders decided to use the system to benefit them and pimp out the American people for their self-interest. And as once that started happening, more and more people jumped on board. But at the heart of it, the U.S. Constitution is the greatest living document produced by man. It actually brought God, government, and people together under one way on how to live. Never done before. And we became the most successful, prosperous, safest country in the world. To the fact now that we give money in the billions of dollars to every other country in the world except for maybe like 5. And then you have this piece of shit sitting there saying, F the Constitution, F this country. These are the people that are looking to change your way of life and my way of life. And there you have it. Like, you can't say, oh, well, we got the Constitution to protect it. The Constitution means nothing if you don't respect it. And it's very clear that that side does not respect the Constitution. They will shred, step on, and destroy the Constitution whenever they come to power, because they have no respect for it. They have no respect for the history and lineage of this country. All they see is, I want to destroy this country. This country is a white Christian nation. It has to go. And until you realize that, until you come to terms with that, and until you stand in the face of evil and challenge these assholes on the streets, at the ballot box, every which way, they're going to keep incrementally us to death. It's amazing that someone can say that stuff and then grow in popularity here in America and specifically in a political party, but that's what he's done. And if you don't believe the Democrats are not the Democrat socialists of America now, you are sadly mistaken. There are no moderate Democrats left. You cannot be a moderate Democrat. If you're a moderate Democrat, you are a Republican now at this point. And I don't even want you, but yeah, you're a moderate Republican. The DSA will have full control of the Democratic Party by 2030. I guarantee it. You got AOC talking about presidential run. She's linked to DSA. She talks to downplay, oh, just my local chapter. No bullshit. It's all the same. It's all across the board. DSA is here. They are planning to overthrow the American government from within. They are terrorists, but yet our government officials do nothing to label them that. And once again, I'll bring it back to, why are they not labeled domestic terrorists? I do not understand this. If they are telling you, F your way of life, I'm going to change your way of life, I'm going to do this to you, why are you not considered a terrorist if you are talking about overthrowing the country? Terrorism is not only bombs. Terrorism is not only threats. They are terrorizing the American people, letting them know we are going to do this to you. They're not saying with a gun, not yet. Not yet. But once they get in power and they tear up the Constitution, you think they're not going to act with impunity? Just like, I'm going to round people up, throw them in camps because I don't believe they have a right to coexist here because they think differently than I do? Because that is exactly 100% what DSA does. That is 100% the fact that what equity does. That is 100% the fact what that judge in California does. And that mindset is encroaching all throughout America, attacking our values. And then we got children coming up behind that. My child is going to be raised in a world where a target is on his back 24/7 just because of what he looks like. It makes no difference that he's the sweetest kid ever. It makes no difference that he has friends that are black, Spanish, and white. It makes no difference that we just got invited to an Ethiopian birthday party next weekend. It makes no difference that we get along with all different types of races in our neighborhood. It makes no difference because he is a white male. He will have a target on his back. Because punk asses like Ron Garcia, E. Ortiz, and the equity-minded folks that run school districts and all that shit throughout this country are promoting this anti-white hatred into the school children that then bleed out into society. That's why you're seeing attacks on white people increase. That's why you see the beatings of white children by the hands of black and brown kids on the playgrounds increasing throughout our country. It's because kids are being programmed in the public school system to hate white kids because of equity. Because kids in schools are taught you don't have because white kids do have. That's what they're taught. End stop. And then you break kids down into these affinity groups where you have black groups, brown groups, Asian groups, trans groups, oh, sorry, forgot this one. We got our mixed races group because we almost had a fight in our affinity group because a kid had mixed parents. So you're telling me there's not racism that's being injected into kids at every level across the board in the school systems? You are so sadly disconnected. And then at the same time, you have these special groups for all these special races that are allowed to play out. Do you have a white kid support group? Or let me ask you this one. If you're in a minority school, I'll go one here. All right, if you're in Overland School, if you're at Overland High School in Cherry Creek School District, white kids are the minority there. Do you have an affinity group for yourself there? I guarantee you don't. I guarantee you don't. But affinity groups are supposed to be made for minorities. Well, only in majority white populations they can have that. So when the minorities are the majority in a population, the whites are not considered the minority, therefore they can't get the affinity group either, right? It's all word language, it's all mumble jumble. It's all a way to minimize white people. It's all a way to minimize white people. And if that's not enough, you also have the churches that are catching on fire throughout America, right? We played a couple a month or two ago in Brooklyn, New York. Church went on fire. Up in Buffalo, they've lost some churches as well. Well, one of the churches up in Buffalo that was burned down a couple of years ago, not recently, but a couple of years ago, is now being unveiled as a beautiful new mosque. Let's play cut 5.
Okay. So I'm at Masjid Al-Salam in Buffalo, New York. It's beautiful. I'm trying to get the full image, but yeah, it's a beautiful mosque, and yeah, just come inside with me. Benji's praying.
Do you want to show them how to do wudu?
So look at the sign for it. It says,
for those unaware, this is the mosque that this Muslim is standing in front of. She's saying it's beautiful, and she's posting it to social media for her followers, kind of claiming that they really built this building and it is very beautiful. Well, what actually is this building? If we do a little bit of history, this mosque is at this address. And what was it before it became a mosque? Well, it was a Roman Catholic church, of course. So that's why it's beautiful, not because Muslims came here and built this beautiful building and created a mosque. No, it was a Roman Catholic church.
So yeah, this is a phenomenon that's going out throughout the country, that old abandoned churches are being taken over by Muslims and converted to mosques. Yeah, it's happening all over. And honestly, the Vatican is at fault here. The Catholic Church is at fault here because of their inability to deal with the times and losing its followers and its abuse and its child peddling and its protection of pedophilia priests. It caused a lot of Americans to walk away from the church because Americans didn't want to be involved with that corruption and that dirtiness. And then there's the repercussions for that, right? The churches lose followers, don't generate the money needed to keep the churches up and running. Churches close down, become abandoned, become dregs on the community. Bad things happen to them, get destroyed. Bums come over, alcoholics, drug users. Things start happening. The buildings become dilapidated and eventually get turned over. It's being done everywhere. And Catholic churches are becoming the new mosques here in America. And if you're telling me we're not being taken over, I don't know what to say. There's over 3,000 mosques in America today. But yet Muslims are only, 4 or 5% of the population in America. They have 3,000 mosques. And this is not an invasion, all being fueled by DSA. And also, let's not forget this. The right is also guilty in this. The right is also guilty in the selling out of America through the visa program and bringing in, quote unquote, refugees that never go home. They're just taking over America. And then these people have multiple wives, multiple homes, and live off the government dime for the most part. So they're taking over our churches. They're taking over our communities. They're taking our tax money. And yet we're the ones that are the racists still. We're the ones that are the bad ones. We're the ones that we have to be fine with this happening. Otherwise, we are a racist. No, we don't. Because Islam is an invading religion. The term Islam itself means to submit, submissive. They're not looking to coexist. They're looking to take over. And that's the reality in America today in 2026. And this is all playing out right in front of us. And we all see it, we all smell it, we all see what's going on, and nobody is acting to stop the selling out of this country to foreigners because our selected leaders are enriching themselves through this process. I was talking to my wife last night about it. I was talking to my wife about this last night. We were talking about it. My wife's in the healthcare field, and she was talking about out here in Colorado, a lot of CNAs. These are aides that work in nursing homes. Most of them don't speak English. Some of them speak Spanish. A lot of them are from Africa, Haiti. Also, my wife was telling me, and the residents at the buildings that my wife is working at have complaints about the staff because the staff that has been brought in don't understand what the residents need because there's a language barrier. And I brought up to my wife, hey, babe, do you think Americans don't want to do these CNA jobs? Like, why do you think so many CNA workers are foreigners? And she didn't really have a real path to like why. She's like, well, in New York, they spoke Spanish and English. Out here, it's way different, though. They're not speaking English. They're speaking foreign languages. And I'm like, why do you think that is? And she couldn't put a finger on it. And then I kicked the idea to her, hey, what do you think about that the medical insurance companies or administrators of these buildings are just getting visa workers to come in because they're backdoor and dealing with politicians to get visa deals to bring in foreign workers to pay them a certain wage. And therefore, they have the market capped for CNAs. And therefore, Americans aren't going to come in, right? If you could bring in foreigners from Haiti, Jamaica, Africa, right? If you can bring foreigners in that want to come to America to work for $17 an hour, you'll do that all day as the businessman. While the American knows the value of that work, would not do that work for less money because of how hard it is. So they go away from that field. So that, to me, that's what's happened in the CNA field out here in Colorado, is that these buildings have worked out deals to bring in workers through visa programs. I don't know if that's true or not, but to me, it logically makes sense. It keeps the wages low. Just like the same thing with the visa coders coming in or the visa workers for 7-Eleven. Have you guys seen that one? That 7-Eleven has visa workers to come in to work for them? You're telling me regular Americans won't work at 7-Eleven? No, 7-Eleven is doing this to keep their wages down, to keep out American workers to applying so that they keep that conglomerate working. It's all the same. It's all the same. And they're not able to do this without the corrupt politicians doing their bidding for them because of the payment, right? Donations, this and the other, whatever the hell it is. But that's really what I believe is going on. And yeah, that was just a little conversation I had with my wife, but it ties back into that we constantly allow foreigners to come in, but do we really need them? Do we really need them in a country of over 300 million people? Do we really need to keep bringing foreigners into this country to fill jobs as political refugees, war refugees, right? We don't need any of this anymore. But the money is too great for people to make a cutoff of the NGOs, the charities, that then take that money that they get from a government contract and then give it kickbacks to the government officials that then kind of let the cycle just rinse, wash, repeat over and over again. So yeah. All right, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll just talk about the mental dystopian society that the left is creating for us. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
My name is Chase, and I am a butch, non-binary high school teacher, and this is my plan for back to school this year. The first thing I'm doing this year is I'm just going by Chase. No Mrs., Mr., Mix, like just Chase. I did it last year and it went great, and none of my students cared at all. None of the administration cared at all. So I'm planning on just doing that again this year. Something I'm doing this upcoming year that I didn't do last year is I think I'm just going to send an introduction email to all of my students and all of their parents, just saying my name, my pronouns, a little bit about my background and why it's important to me. I know that not every single parent is going to understand and not every single parent is going to care or be respectful, but I think my job as a teacher is to educate people, and if that means I get to educate the parents too, awesome. The third thing I'm doing this year is a pronoun lesson. I'm doing it day 1. I just tell my students that I'm non-binary. I use they, them pronouns, and that what non-binary means to me is that I'm not really a boy or a girl. I'm kind of just doing my own thing, and a lot of them really get it. My students last year would correct each other when they messed up my pronouns, so I'm kind of just hoping for the same thing this year. I am excited for back to school.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, but that's Chase, butch, non-binary teacher in the Bronx, New York. My kid ever get to sign that thing, I am requesting a class change immediately. No questions asked. No, out. Pronoun lesson day 1? No, out. No. Yeah, you have a right to educate me, the parent, over your mental health issues. No, you don't. No, you don't. And if my kid is going to call you a she because you're a she, that's the way it's going to be. Now, this teacher works in the Bronx, so chances are she's going to get majority immigrant population, because if you actually take a look at the New York City public school system, over 50% of their kids are from are immigrants. That was something that came out recently also. That's why the reading and math scores in New York City are so awful, is that the majority of their students are not native-born English speakers. So that's another problem. But, unchecked migration has no educational blowbacks, no problems whatsoever. And then let's not forget, what about the regular, everyday American kid that is still fighting to survive in a classroom in New York City? What do they got to deal with? What do they got to deal with? You got to deal with shit like that, saying, no, we're going to do this day 1 because that's what's most important. No, you're a high school teacher. No, that's not what's most important. It's maybe most important to you because you need the affirmation from young children in front of you, because you're a mental weak widget thing, whatever you are. But that's what walks into our education field, are people like that. And then they feel like they have the moral high ground and moral authority that my job as a teacher to teach everyone. And I'll teach the parents this. No, you will not. No, you will not. You're a female. You could like to be called whatever you want, but I prefer not to call you that. So where's the line in the sand? Where's the line in the sand drawn, right? Where's the line in fantasy land? Where is the line drawn? You prefer to be called a certain way. I prefer to deal in reality. Rubber meets road. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to start suspending and disciplining kids? No, what you're going to do is you're going to pressure kids into giving into your mental conformity because you're a weak individual. You're like, that's not really respectful. It's hurting my feelings. At the same time, this kid could say, you're lying to me because you're not a they, them. Okay, they, them implies more than one person. That's another part. It's grammatically incorrect. So not only is the educational teaching an issue in the schools, they're also not teaching correct grammar just on introduction of a person. They, them. Where's the rest of you? It's just one of you? They, them. But that's the educated. It makes sense. Proper grammar. But it doesn't matter, because the ultimate goal is to push their political agenda, which is to corrupt as many young children as they can in front of them every day. And that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And if you think that's not an issue, wait until you see the who just won the Democratic nomination for Senate in Minnesota. Godspeed, Minnesota. Godspeed. Cut 2.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Peggy Flanagan. I am the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I'm really honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. I think about my friendship with Nimco. We've been friends for almost 25 years. And when I think of being part of Minnesota and growing up here, the Somali community has always been a part of my Minnesota. So I want to just encourage the community to know that we're with you. We've got your back. I am here shopping today, and just encourage other folks to show up, support our Somali businesses, support our immigrant neighbors. And I know that things are scary right now. And just know that there are more people who are looking out for you. There are more people who are here to support you than you know. I will continue to stand with the Somali community to be with you and to do all I can to return the friendship and community that the Somali community has shown me. Thank you so much.
So that's Tampon Tim's buddy. She is now going to run for Senate in Minnesota to go to Washington, D.C. And she's wearing a burqa. Can't make this shit up, man. You can't make this shit up. If you really want to wear that shit, move over to the country where you could wear it. Move over to the country that makes you wear it. You don't wear it here. Don't bring that shit here. We don't want it here. Young women want to wear whatever they want to wear here. But if we keep going down this path in another 20, 30 years, you're going to have 6-month-olds in burqas. You're going to have 8-month-olds in hijabs. Like, that's where we're going. And you get the lefty, loony, liberal women just like this saying, oh, it's so good. The Somalis have been so good to this community. Okay, newsflash. Anyone know when Minnesota became a state? Real quick. 1858. Do you know when the first Somali came into Minnesota? 1970. Math difference of about 120 years. So I'd love to know, for the first 120 years, how did Minnesota survive without Somalis coming in? I want to know. How did Minnesota survive the first 120 years of existence before the came in from Somalia? How were they able to survive? Because according to Peggy Flanagan, they are a bedrock of this society. You know, siphoning off billions of dollars of taxpayers' money for the Leering Center. That was an obvious fraud, not to mention the medical fraud, not to mention the other business frauds that the Somalis got going on in Minnesota. But no, we don't talk about that. We just put our hijab on, cover up. We're all good friends here. Somalis have been nothing but great people to Minnesota since the 1850s when Minnesota was established as a state. No, but they keep perpetuating the lies. And what's going to happen, what's going to wind up happening is we're eventually going to get away from paper history, and everything's going to be computerized history. And eventually in the year like 2080, I don't know, maybe 2100, you'll have the founder of Minnesota being a Somali refugee because they can just, and the leader of Minnesota is going to be Ian Omar from the 1700s. Like, that's what they're going to do to us. That's what they're doing, because they just constantly make up and lie about the bullshit now. As AI and technology progresses and the left keeps gaining more and more control over the left and the AI functions and the programming of data and the input of history, they're going to rewrite everything, man. They're going to rewrite everything. So, very small Somalis settled in Minnesota in the 70s and 80s. I mean, real small, less than 1,000, right? But it really started in 1991 when the Somali Civil War broke out, and then hundreds of thousands of Somalis fled to refugee camps in Kenya, Ethiopia. And then in 92, 93, America said, oh, come on in, my brethren, come on in. So resettlement agencies such as Lutheran Social Services of Minnesota and Catholic Charities, the religions, right? And this is why the Catholic Church has lost a lot of its followers, because a lot of its Christian followers don't believe in this stuff. And it gets shoved in their face, and their money is being used for these people when it shouldn't have been used for the community that it was donated in, right? But basically, that helped facilitate refugees to Minnesota. So today, the Somali American population in Minnesota is roughly between 70,000 to 100,000. That's a big nut. That's a big nut. And if you paid attention to David Clements, he said it takes Muslims, right? Somalis are Muslims. Let's be honest here. Not too many are Christian. What happens? It only takes them to have about 10 to 15% of the population before they just not conform to the laws because they can create their strongholds. And you can see that happening in places in Michigan, in Minnesota, right? It's happening. It's legitimately happening. And then if you want to talk about how much money this costs the people, and let's not get into the fraud. The fraud's in the billions already. But the Housing Stabilization Services launched in 2020 as a Medicaid-funded state program to help seniors, low-income individuals, and people with disability find and maintain housing. That budget in Minnesota in 2021 was $21 million. In 24, that budget became over $100 million. So just siphoning off millions of dollars to whoever, wherever, whoever wants to, hey, hand out, boom, thank you, thank you, thank you. Right? The more immigrants you're able to flood into the community, the more you can embezzle from your own community to enrich yourselves. And that's why the Somalis are welcomed in open arms to Minnesota. And that's why the lieutenant governor wants to run for the Senate now in her hijab. Right? It's all mental health. It's all it's all nonsense. It really is. And if you want to see nonsense, we've covered this a couple of times on the show already, but the Drip Cafe out here in Colorado does great work. We're working on getting them on the show, the owner onto the show, because the clips I see coming out of there are absolutely out of control. But take a look at what happened at the Drip Cafe recently over the past week, and you tell me liberalism is not a mental disorder and that the people on the left are not here to destroy our society. Let's play cut 3.
Hey, this is Break the Change Media. There are a bunch of power pieces of shit and you promote anti-trans. Anti-trans gets me killed.
Your behavior
white supremacist piece of shit.
Do this in the right way without your phone. I only started recording because you got angry.
Oh, I will. Hey, this is Break the Change Media. There are a bunch of white power pieces of shit and and I will make certain you are run the fuck out of the city.
Your behavior is what makes you get killed. The dangerous behavior that you have. I'm not doing anything.
White conservative piece of shit like you.
Listen to her. Listen to her.
Burn and rot.
Listen to her.
When the trans revolution comes.
That's not a healthy conversation.
Because I was trying to talk with you.
I was trying to talk with you.
Racist and bigot.
Over here, hold your camera, people's faces.
I do not.
I'm recording this for my own safety, and this is dangerous behavior. That's all I'm saying. Don't swing it on you. That's all I'm saying. Verbal.
So yeah, Break the Chains Media goes down to the Drip Cafe. They document the anarchy that takes place down there. DPD does nothing to support the owners. If you go into that place, buy a cup of coffee, come out, you are met by just a mob of mental midgets that think you are the greatest threat to their livelihood, even though you're just in there buying a cup of coffee, supporting a business that helps homeless people, which you think the left would support, but it kind of doesn't because they also have religious values. So now, can't do that. Can't do that. Believe America's a great country. Oh, no. But they're helping the homeless. No, it doesn't matter. Got to wreck their business. And that's what they are. They are mental midgets that are bullies. But then when you push back against the bully or you punch the bully in the mouth, they cry, and then you're the one that actually has to do the apologizing. It's the most insane upside-down world we live in. That's why our society's on its head, because you give spaces to people like this. And then you have cities that allow this type of behavior. They're basically terrorizing a business on the nightly. They're terrorizing a business on the nightly because it is a pro-Christian coffee house. And no one does anything about it. What would happen if you went and started protesting an abortion clinic out here? What would happen if you started going out there and doing that in front of a trans event? They'll cuff you up in a second, right? It's two totally different rules of law that people follow here. There's rules that conservatives have to follow, and there are no rules that the left have to follow. That's the long and short of it. And then the Democrats. If you think there's a Democratic Party left, you are sadly mistaken. If you think there are moderates left in the Democratic Party, you are sadly mistaken. The Democratic Party is gone. So is the Republican Party. right? MAGA, I believe, is fried. I believe the Republican Party and honestly Trump have done more damage to the MAGA brand than the left could have ever have done. I feel like I am politically homeless at the moment. And I know the right believed that was the play that they were going to make. I believe the right believed that we're going to do whatever it is we want to do, not what the American people want us to do. Not that the American people want the mass deportations, the SAVE Act, inflation down, gas prices down. I don't care what the American people want. I want to get rich. I want to empower and enrich my family. So we're going to do what we're going to do on our side on the right, because what's regular Joe going to do? Are they going to go vote for the commies over there? Are they going to go support the leftists? You're putting people in a homeless camp, and there's not going to be people that are going to want to come vote for any party come next time, which is just going to make the elections even easier to rig. But let's take a look what's happening on Capitol Hill, where there's a petition circulating amongst Democrats asking who identifies as a capitalist. Check this out.
More moderate-leaning Democrats came out with a new pledge that they circulated among their colleagues in the House, and the pledge was this: "We are Democrats. We support capitalism. We do not support socialism." That, Scott, I kid you not, that was their pledge. I mean, it is unbelievable. But this socialist infection of the Democrat Party by the DSA wing, the communist wing of the Democrat Party. They have taken over, and you're right. When AOC is leading the Democrats in the 2028 presidential race against J.D. Vance leading it on our side, it's going to be an epic battle between two totally fundamentally different worldviews about what America is. Is America good or not? And where America is going. And that's going to be on full display in 2028, but it's on full display in this midterm election in 2026 as well.
So yeah, the majority of people in the Democratic Party on Capitol Hill refuse to sign off that they believe in free market capitalism. Does that sound like some people that, you know, you may disagree with politically, but do you feel like if outside loses, that's a side that you could deal with? And I hate to play the game of fear mongering, but shit, that's what they're putting us in the middle of. And that's purposely being done, these scumbags on both sides. But they're purposely putting us into this pinch, right? 10 out of 212 Democrats signed that petition. So 202 then say we are socialists, not capitalists. That is going to uproot the American way of life more than you could ever imagine if that party comes into power. They're not going to play games, and we're going to be stuck with it. And then the people, oh, we told you about it. Tom Tillis and Mike John, you can't do this. You can't do this. Meanwhile, they had 4 years to cut this train off, and they chose not to because they're pussies. They're compromised vaginas. And that's why J.D. Vance, AOC showdown in 2028, and J.D. Vance is going to be in an awful spot. He is going to be in such an awful spot if he's the nominee, because he's going to have to say Trump did great, all in the meantime he didn't. And he's going to have to actually say where Trump failed, right? So like he is going to be in an unbelievable hard spot in 2028. All in the mile, if Trump and his administration focused on the domestic policy of America, it wouldn't even be an issue. But Trump didn't, because the rhinos and the uniparty threw him off track, and he was more than happy to follow that scent that they gave to him, because that's where we're here. Oh my God, it pisses me off. Makes me so frustrated, because this was easy. This was a slam dunk when Trump won the election coming in. Had Congress, had the state, had the federal government, had the Congress, he had it. He had the legislature, had the executive, had the judicial. Sorry, I couldn't get there. My brain was firing. He had it all. Could have ran away with it. Could have set up a dynasty for the Republican Party if there was actually good people around him. Could have done it, but didn't. And instead, he is opening the door for DSA. He is opening the door for the Democrats, giving this country away to them, because Americans are not feeling they have anywhere to go. And then you're going to get this. Here's a clip of AOC talking about, oh, woke 1 was crazy. No, woke 1 was the warm-up. Woke 2 going to get crazy. Let's play it.
I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's
and I think that what's important is that we have to assess what
was it. I mean, did the movement go too far with some of those positions? I mean, you briefly supported the idea of defunding the police.
Well, I think that during this time and especially during COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. There was some of the highest unemployment rates that we have seen because of those shutdowns. Yeah. And I think that the doors were really open in trying to entertain any and every policy that was going to get us to a better place. And I actually think that the discussions that were had in that time were quite fruitful. I think that when we talk about crime today, it's fundamentally different than the way that we talked about crime in bringing crime down, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that we all share in the goals of having as low a crime rate as possible. I think that, during lockdown, of course, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today. And I'm grateful that these candidates have the opportunity to present who they are to their electorate and what they're campaigning on in this moment.
Lying through her teeth. She spent years talking about the systemic oppression of people of color, white supremacy, the hatred of white people are the ills of this country. Meanwhile, she was engaged to a white man. Isn't that funny how that always works? The ones that say white people are racist typically surround themselves or marry into white families. I wonder why that is. If you dislike white people and believe every white person's racist or systemically oppressive against you and your people and your ancestry and your heritage, why do you date, marry, and integrate into a white family? I don't understand that. Ronnie Boy, can you answer that too? Because you've done that too. You married a white woman. And I'm just curious why. Just why? Why? If you it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then she's talking about the woke one was crazy, defund the police. Oh, we're trying. No, yeah, do you really think crime is better now? It's not. Crime is down, and that's only happened since Trump came into office because he threatened to use the National Guard to go into blue cities and blue states to enforce laws. That's the only reason why that's down there. And then that piece of shit journalist on there doesn't point out that issue whatsoever to her. Doesn't point out that she talked about defund ICE and defund the police. How do you feel about ICE now today, AOC? Should ICE be defunded? Yes, it should. Oh, okay, so where is the rhetoric changed? Should mass amnesty be given to all illegals that come into the country? Yes. So where is the difference in the rhetoric here? There is no difference. She is lying through her teeth. Her teeth. She's lying through her teeth, right? They lie every turn. Then they're looking to kind of minimize the damage. But if you actually listen to the politicians that are running for office that actually made it through the election cycle this time, they talk about defunding ICE. They talk about amnesty for illegals. They talk about packing the Supreme Court. They talk about doing these things, right? So they win at the local levels. AOC is doing this to kind of protect her national image, right? To cover the national image, to rebrand herself. Because she's coming in 2028. Newsom's coming in I can't wait to see what that shakes out like on that side, too. It's going to be insane to watch. Just who lies the most, I guess. I don't know. What's a woman? I don't know. Really, AOC? You just decided to freeze your eggs, though. So are you a woman? Do you identify as a woman? If you identify as a woman, does that give you the eggs to freeze? At a question? Could you identify as a man and then jack off into a cup, too, at the same time? Food for thought here. No, you freeze your eggs because you have a vagina, because you were born as a woman. You were programmed a certain way. You cannot change that, no matter how hard you want to. So I'd love to see how she's going to defend that also as that comes up. Man, been a busy show. I've gotten going a little bit today. Hope you guys enjoyed. But I want to close with this clip. This clip is made me smile today. It made me smile today. This is former NBA player Royce White, who's talking about declaring for the WNBA draft coming up. Cut 6.
You know, right now I'm just having a blast in my feminine era. I never thought that I was a woman. You know, I've always trusted the science, and I thought I was a man my entire life. But you know, after further review, strong look at my personal preferences. it would appear that I am indeed sometimes identifying as a transgender woman, and I think it's only fair I get a chance to play with some of my queens here in the twilight of my career, my athletic prime.
So yeah, Royce White wants to hoop in the WNBA, and why would you not? Why would you hate on him? There is no clear guidelines in the WNBA about what a woman is. So if he could identify as being a woman, what would be the issue there? Especially the WNBA is all about supporting trans and being inclusive, right? So why wouldn't they support Royce White looking to sign up? And there's also a stud in France. If you haven't checked out this stud in France, I should have had that for today. But there's a stud in France, 21, 22 years old, I don't know, 6'1", jacked, averaging a double-double. It's a man playing in the women's league, but averaging a double-double. That seems like to be a good fit in the WNBA too. But all of a sudden, these WNBA players are a little skeptical. Oh, I don't know. And now, I don't know if you heard, but the welfare league, the WNBA, it's the NBA's welfare league, because the WNBA will not be able to actually sustain on its own. It actually takes money from the NBA every year in order to survive. So it's a welfare league. Long and short of it, it's a welfare league. And it's racist, too. It is a racist league. If you watch these players, how they treat the white players in this league, Caitlin Clark, Sophia Cunningham, the girls that could hoop, that talk about maybe conservative values, not so much Caitlin Clark, she's been quiet about it, but Sophia Cunningham is. They beat up on these white girls every day. Every day. Openly racist on the court towards these girls. But we're not supposed to talk about it. And then a couple days ago, Sophie Cunningham took a big clothesline over her face going up for a layup, and this big black dyke of a woman that did it puts on her ex account white privilege after she did it. And you're telling me there's not open racism in the WNBA towards white female players? 100% there is. But Royce White is, why not? You know, sometimes you got to play in fantasy land with these people. And Royce White is pointing it out. They don't say what a woman is. I identify as a woman, and in my queen years, I want to play with my queens. Who are we to tell him no? Who are you to tell him no, WNBA? Just out of question. Because you're not. Who are you to tell him no? You believe in inclusivity, trans rights. So here you go. Your top 2 picks in next year's draft should be trans athletes coming off the board. Royce White and the other dude from France coming in, just dominating the WNBA. And you shouldn't really care about it because you believe in this stuff. Up until it hits you in the face. And that's what's actually going to take all this going away, is every subgroup in America is going to need to be hit in their face by what they're preaching for. And then eventually we may come back to being normal. But until then, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I thought that was a great clip to drop in. He is absolutely right with doing this. He has every right to declare for the draft. And then if they don't draft him, he's got a great discrimination lawsuit teed up, ready to go. So yeah, WNBA, you're in a tough pinch. And that's what happens when you play these games. When you say men can be girls and girls can be men, right? Like, this is what happens. Now you got a man that wants to be a girl playing your league. Are you going to show everyone how much of a hypocrite you guys actually are? Or are you actually going to let them hoop up with your queens? I will tell you this. I'll watch those games. I will tell you this. If we get trans men athletes, if we get men as trans women in the WNBA, I will watch 100%. I would love to watch it, to give them a little taste of it. Because down at the lower levels, junior high schools, you have females that are losing roster spots to men that want to be females. And then what's the WNBA going to say then? You're going to have to get rid of 2 females, ones that have vaginas, for 2 that have something else swinging between their legs. Anyone can be anything this day and age, right? So WNBA, it's going to be fascinating to watch. I did see that they did call an emergency meeting. The commissioner's office called an emergency meeting because they got to figure out what a woman is. Can't believe in 2026 they need to do this, but they do. And the reason why they need to do it, because they need to somehow discriminate against Royce White while protecting their women, which I think is going to be impossible for them to do. I'm sure they're on the phone right now getting the best PR firms out there, getting their DEI equity folks on the horn. Hey, how do we spin this? How do we spin this? Do we say you have to be born with a vagina at birth, but you can identify as you move on? Like, how are they going to spin this? It's going to be fascinating to watch. I can't wait. I love watching the lunacy. I hate living in it, but it's also fun to watch from time to time. So yeah, the boomerang always gets you. The equity boomerang always comes around. So yeah. And with that, I'm going to pray us out. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to sit in this chair and speak to the family of Untamed Nation. It's always a pleasure speaking to our people. Dear Lord, thank you for America First Legal and their representation of myself and my family in our lawsuit that we're still waiting to see through on Cherry Creek School District. It's not just about me, Lord. It's about the First Amendment protections of people in work, and you cannot be fired for being asked a personal question. So, Lord, thank you for AFL's continued guidance, their continued hard work, and the opportunity of partnering them with me. Thank you, Lord, for all that. That's unbelievable. Dear Lord, thank you for the beautiful weather out here. Thank you for all the good people here at Untamed Nation and what we're building and what we're building towards. Lord, watch over Joe as he travels. Watch over our families every day. Watch over the young generation here in America as they need your guidance and love and support more now than ever, and protection from the evils in the world. Hey, Grandma, Grandpa, Dad, love and miss you guys every day. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that one. I think I might be back tomorrow. Joe may be busy again. But I guess I'll find out. And you'll find out too. But until tomorrow, class dismissed.
Rise up untamed, in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through.